Welcome to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. I have a very special guest here from Broomfield, Colorado. Tate Dooley is the CEO of Key to Life Garden Supply, and he's also an American horticulturalist known for his organic growing. Tate, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Liz. It's a great time to be here. I'm really excited. I think we're gonna have a really good convo. It's a good excuse to get out of the sun too.
Absolutely. You know, it's these conversations are important to have, you know, in the space where we are still having, you know, issues with legality. New markets are popping up everywhere. People are learning to grow, you know, by the hundreds, by the thousands in some states. It's really important to be able to share this information between growers, and certainly from information from the best growers like yourself. So I'm excited to dig in tonight.
For sure. Well, I like to say, what makes me a good grower is that I'm learning something new every single day. We keep our mind open to other people, new technologies, new products, and new innovations as far as on the plant level or on the supply side. So it's a really exciting time to be involved in this particular industry. I like to tell people that there's no such thing as a proven method at this point in time, because real research and development can finally happen on real scale with real effort behind it. So it's really exciting to be able to see what can happen in this industry and how not only we can take the changes that are happening with cannabis, but to also influence the rest of horticulture.
Absolutely. You know, the name of your brand is just, it's captivating, you know, it's key to life. So, you know, I have to ask, do you really believe that cultivating cannabis is the key to life?
I believe that cultivating anything, whether it's cannabis, tomatoes, peppers, carrots, or grass in your lawn, connects you with the planet and with your family, which is the key to life.
Wow, that's it. That's incredible. I love hearing that, because, you know, so much in this industry, you know, when we focused on cultivation, we're focused on yields, we're focused on the output and the product, which is very important, you know, but to hear that, you know, you're taking more of a broad perspective, I think, to cultivation in general, it's really refreshing and fun.
Yeah, I mean, I started Key to Life as just a fertilizer company when I was 21 years old. I'm 34 now, so the company is a little bit over 10 years old. And we've grown from literally out of my garage with no investors, no capital, no partners, no nothing, to a global company of over 10 years now, which is crazy. And I really believe it comes back to, you know, what you were shooting for, which is we wanted to be a fertilizer company that left the right impact. A lot of previous other fertilizer companies and garden supply companies, post generations, had to deal with the different issues and the different non-sustainable chemicals and practices and packaging that went into some of those methodologies. So for us to be able to take all of those things that we've learned from agriculture and horticulture from past and apply it to future and right some of the wrongs and be one of the companies that could negatively impact the planet, but spin that around and have a positive impact. Anymore now, it's not necessarily just about sustainability. It's about regenerative effects. Yes. So we try to make sure that we have a lot more exponential of a good output on the long term than the negative effect on the short term, is really what it goes to. And I think that that's a model in society now in general.
Absolutely. Now, you know, you pointed out that you're more focused on the regenerative aspect. Certainly sustainability is a piece of that, but would you mind going in a little bit deeper for those viewers who aren't so familiar with the difference between regenerative farming and kind of sustainable organic?
For sure. So sustainable is just like, it's a sustaining system, but you're not necessarily using any of the outputs that come from that sustaining system to reignite the system. So that's really where regenerative ag comes into play, is, for example, using things like animals and rotating pastures in large scale agriculture, switching out crop diversities, building natural soils, restoring natural water. It's really, a lot of times we think of agriculture as a 2 or a 3-pronged effect. It's really a 360-degree effect. Like, for example, one of the products that we make and encourage people to use is this thing called biochar. I'm sure you've heard of it. Every teaspoon of biochar is a football field of surface area for beneficial microbes, water, oxygen, and organic acids to hang out and do their thing. I like to call it a beneficial microbial and nutrient hotel. So that allows the soil to sustain instead of drain out all of the excess. And as this sustains nutrients and microbial activity, we see different tendencies in the crops that are placed in those areas. We see less need for pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, because we have natural resiliency and encouragement of natural plant species or intended plant species, which you'd placed there previously.
Wow, that's incredible information. And you think that every farmer would want to have those kinds of results and want to, create that type of, atmosphere ecosystem for their plants. Why do you think, cultivators have been slower, I think, to adopt regenerative farming?
Well, first, number one to any problem and applying the solution is education. I've gone to a lot of different farms, whether it was traditional agriculture, 3rd, 4th generation guy that has just done it this way because that's how his dad and his dad's dad did it, or, people on the other side trying to do organic, but they're doing potentially older methodologies and not adapting and bringing in some of the new technologies that can allow organic to be much more effective with yield, automation, reduction of labor. So really what we specialize in at Keto Life is blending the synthetic ideology of automation, drip systems, and replication or repeated results into organics. And the way that we do that is with nano powders. So we micronize all of our powders down to nanoparticle size. We encapsulate them in an enzymatic, so to say, candy shell that allows them not only to solubilize very quickly in water, but then to also stay solubilized with other interesting technologies like ion charging of particles and ionization. And, once again, a 360-degree solution forecast for all of these individual problems that happen in traditional organic horticulture. I tried to go into a lot of traditional farms and implement some of the more old school organic methods, and they just take too much money. There's too much infrastructure change. And at the end of the day, it's hard to repeat and scale some of those methodologies. Now they can take an organic product and swap it for their synthetic product in their very similar system and maybe tweak the media on the back end, but in the same style system. They can really start and run with that and see it as a solution versus changing everything. Sorry, that was a really long nerd bomb. But
No. I loved it. I loved it. And wouldn't you say that that is the right, at least that's the most common pathway into regenerative farming? Just this thought of, hey, there are a few things that I can replace to be more organic in those practices. Is that okay, or does a farmer kind of have to rethink their whole operation here if they're truly trying to become a regenerative farm?
I like to say everything's a process. If we ever try and have anything done instantaneously overnight, whether it's, something with your kids or something with your significant other, or something with yourself, and a change on, January 2nd of the new year, if you apply too many changes, it creates more resistance. So I'm all about gradual, slow, manageable change. And fortunately, that's what a lot of the organic certification bodies and agencies like as well. They have a 3 to 7 year transition period from a synthetic traditional agricultural farm to an organic agricultural farm and practices. Wow. If you want to shoot for the moon and you want to do everything and become the biggest, baddest version of yourself and business as possible tomorrow, nobody's stopping you, and go for it. But manageable change is huge, especially on finances as well as employees, is what I like to transition my way into.
Right. You don't want to bite off too much, more than you can chew. And especially, with farming, it's not a short-term endeavor. It's not something that you just get into and, try your hand at it for a couple seasons and then, screw this. I'm going back to my 9 to 5. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living.
100%.
Yeah. So how did you get into that lifestyle? Did the game find you, or were you born into the game?
I'd say a little bit of both. I'm from Colorado, first off, so by Fort Collins, which is Fort Chronic. And while I was there, while I lived in Fort Collins, actually Loveland, right next to it, but nobody knows Loveland.
I know Loveland.
Yeah. So when I was going to high school in Loveland, basically all my buddies were very into agriculture and plants and the medicine in of which that comes off of them. I was exposed to cannabis at around 14 years old, as far as the plant and the product side here in Colorado. And further than that, I always like to show this. This is actually a medical card from, I don't know if you can read the year on here. This one is 2009.
Whoa.
This one is 2006.
Like history.
So I have been in the game for a very, very long time. I've had my medical card since 2007 here in Colorado. Actually, yeah, this one's 2007. So how long is that? 15 years.
15 years. Whoa.
And I'm only 34 years old, which is kind of crazy. So the way that I got into it and solidified me is I actually broke my arm really badly. It's kind of hard to see.
No, I can see there's a pretty gnarly scarring.
Yeah, I have 2 plates and 16 screws. I had to get a piece of my hip taken out and a bone grafted into my arm because my buddy ran into me snowboarding, and I went like this back over the edge of his snowboard at like lightning speed, and I literally picked my arm up and it was flopping out of the skin, and it was really, really bad. And it was, yeah, they had to put me into a 5 Chinese finger trap little device that was like on an IV pole. And they had me in there and they hung weights right here because my arm was like over here. And they hung weights, and the doctor comes out and he's like, "Oh, how's that?" Yank. And he just yanked my arm back into like proper alignment. And that was no fun at all. And so they put me actually onto Percocet and Oxycontin and all sorts of pharmaceutical things. And that was actually sophomore year in high school. And I made some poor decisions. And I believe it was because I was on painkillers and stuff, because I had obviously a very messed up arm. And I was on probation from 14 years old to 21 years old for multiple different things. And I was told during that time period, you're getting the in-depth story right now.
Thank you.
I was told during that time period, and I was kicked out of drug court for the 3rd time and sent directly to jail in front of my parents. And they told me.
Wow.
they told me that I was never going to amount to anything and I was going to be a burden upon society, just like a bunch of people in our industry, right?
Right.
So I really took that upon myself, and I was definitely, young and dumb, like we all were at some point in time. But I got out of that scenario, was in horticulture college while I was a junior and senior in high school, and then graduated, moved to the mountains, wanted to become a pro snowboarder, ended up breaking this arm again in the same spot.
Oh,
After it had healed for 3 years. They tried to put me back on Percocet and Oxycontin. And I was like, no, I will not do that. That caused some of the most hardcore, trying, darkest chapters of my entire life. And I'm good. I don't want to do that. I've got my plants here and I've got my weed and it's never done me wrong. And I'm going to go just take care of my pain that way. Yes. So I got my med card in 2007 as a freshman in college at that point. I graduated high school in 2006 and then started working as a hydroponics store manager.
Wow.
While I was there, I kind of started to notice that all these people were using all these ingredients, and I fell in love with the ingredient side and the supply side and how to get big, amazing yields, obviously, but organically and clean was my thing.
Oh, that's cool. Why organically and clean?
Because I was super picky about the weed that I would smoke, and I would literally make fun of people if they grew synthetic weed and tried to smoke. Went through about an 11-year period where I did not smoke one other person's product but my own, because I knew where it came from. I knew what had been used. I knew the cleanliness. And through my previous agriculture school experiences, basically I learned that chemical horticulture is the most popular thing and they don't really care what's in that stuff. Well, if you take cancerous chemicals and use them on a plant that we're trying to escape cancer from, I was never really into that. So I always wanted to make sure that I was using non-cancerous things and chemicals for something that I was going to be combusting to help myself heal and get away from pain and not have headaches and all that stuff. Plus, I will say, flavor snob as well. Yeah. It's all about the flavor.
Oh yeah. You got to preserve those terps so you can enjoy the smoke, enjoy the consumption. And you, as an avid and passionate consumer, I appreciate it. I know when those plants have been loved, and it feels like you could taste organic, you could taste regenerative. Look at that.
Been doing it for a while.
Yeah, man.
They stopped making these in like 2011.
You have to frame those. You've got to frame those.
To.
That's too cool. Hang them in your office. Your office is really cool. But wait a minute. Oh, very cool. There's your key card. Yep. Key to life employee card. You still have to have one even though the place is yours?
This is actually a key badge. So this allows me in Colorado to make owner grade or consulting decisions and be able to influence the production and the profitability of a commercial grow operation.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'm from Texas and I learn as much as I can about the other markets, but I had no clue that I didn't know what a key card was, and I didn't know that one had to have a key card to be in that role. That's fascinating.
Yeah, so there's a couple different levels. There's an employee badge, which is you just kind of do what you're told. I hate to put it that way. And then there's key employee badges, which is for managers, consultants, designers, things like that. And then there's the owner badge.
Got it.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Very cool. Very interesting. Well, listen, guys, we've got to pause the conversation for now to take a break for a message from our sponsors. But when we come back, we'll dive right back into our conversation with Tate Dooley about regenerative farming and the key to life garden supply. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks, Liz.
We meet this man at his restaurant, and I have to say, he walks out and he's just barrel-chested, and he's just got the look of Montana in his eyes. And I was a little bit like, whoa.
I was a little bit like, Whoa.
His name is Leather Store. He's world famous. He's been on Bong Appetit.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to see our garden real quick? Because that's kind of cool. It's a good view of the city, too.
Yeah. You call him up, he comes to your house, he meets your guests, he talks it out with you, and then he does like a 7-course meal for you, all infused with cannabis.
From the roof to the table or to the kitchen, we're making a dime bag.
We are making them weed and seeds and stems and stuff.
So most of the parties that you do this for are private?
All the parties I do this for are private. Okay. I've done, 15 dinners so far, and the interest seems to be growing, which is cool.
Yeah.
I do not think that cannabis has necessarily got the granularity that people are ascribing to. I mean, especially when you cook it, you are destroying some of the parts of the plant that may add those effects.
Yeah.
And we're really just dealing with THC.
Yes.
So this is what we set down on the table. And again, like,
People are like,
it should look deliberately challenging. I come out with the bag of weed.
My God, exactly like when you open a bag of weed. You gotta stick your nose in there and you gotta smell it. It's amazing.
And
It doesn't smell like
again, I like how this kind of blooms. The crunchy goodness, the texture's fun. We would be looking at 45 milligrams of THC. This is not a joke.
I'm ready to eat.
Dude, dig in, dig
Give
in,
me.
dig in.
This is incredible,
This is
Leather.
so good.
This is amazing. The hemp seeds and the puffed rice.
Oh my God.
And you can taste a little bit of the theoretical Obama oil.
I want an experience that engages you on a lot of levels. I would like to feed your stomach and your sense of humor and your soul a little bit. And the freaky part of you too, maybe. You know?
Leather, thank you so much for allowing us into your heart and into your restaurant.
My
This
pleasure.
has been a one-of-a-kind experience.
Spread the word.
Very, very grateful. Thank you, my
Absolutely.
man.
Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's a really special guy.
He is.
And he became our friend pretty instantaneously.
He
Out of
definitely.
the same cloth.
Welcome back to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I'm here tonight with Tate Dooley, the CEO of Key to Life Garden Supply out of Colorado. Tate, welcome back. Thanks again for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Yeah, I've loved the conversation so far and learned so much. It feels like you touch almost every piece of this industry. I mean, you're a cultivator, you have a garden supply, and then you're also a consultant as well.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy what this industry will throw at you over, 14 years of being in it or whatever the time period is at this point. We've been doing trade shows and been on the supply side for over a decade. So it's been interesting.
Yeah.
We have definitely kind of endeavored throughout a little bit of everything in the industry. Obviously, we started as just a nutrient company and a compost tea brewer company for compost teas, living soil, and mainly only organic gardening.
Right.
And as we started to do consulting for people, we started to find that the majority of the time that people were having issues or not seeing the results that they wanted from our products, it was actually a lot of other things, whether it was temperature or humidity or lighting or CO2 or irrigation or fertigation or employees or pest and disease, or the list continues for a while.
So many variables, go into.
So many variables.
Yeah.
And we've learned all of them through experience.
I love it. I love that haircut. My husband is a bald. Once you go bald, you never go back.
Exactly.
So, you bring up the, remind us all of so many variables of a successful harvest. So what do you think the most important factors are that growers should be considering when they're setting up their grow environment?
It's a great question. My mind goes in like 4 or 5 different areas. So
Bring it
I'm
on.
going to kind of ramble, but maybe not in priority. The number one thing that I see where people short themselves is their drying, trimming, bucking, processing, and packaging area. I always like to tell growers, that's where your crop turns into cash. You could grow an A++ or a C+, at the end of the day, it kind of needs to be managed at the end of it in a similar or specifically destined model for your goal as a cultivator or as a brand.
So say more about that. What are some of the goals other than just massive yields?
Yeah, that's a great. So it comes down to the end product in any market. Everybody can grow, but everybody should have their own specific niche of end product that they release out into the market. So some people here in Colorado specialize only in live solventless rosin extract. Some people only specialize in edibles and chocolate. Some people only specialize in high quality flower. If you have the right planning and the right strategy, you want to be able to focus on one of them, but you want to be able to have multiple offshoots in your end goal to stay diversified in complex trending markets where you have a lot of different players entering at different points in time with different amounts of capital and brand integrity and loyalty and experience behind them. Like for instance, if you're in Texas and all of a sudden you're a new startup and a huge multi-state operator comes in, obviously there's difficulties with that. So you need to be able to size up your marketplace and some of the competition and some of the niche products. I always like to tell people to get as niche as you can. We, got to remember the times of reefer madness and back during the hemp craze of this plant being professed as the 50,000 plus uses plant. So a lot of times markets go with edibles, concentrate, and flower. Well, there's so many offshoots of all those different things that we can get specific on that can separate us in our market to make sure that we stay diversified and captivate consumer audiences.
Okay, and
did that answer your question?
Yes. I love it. I love it from a small level to a macro level. But it sounds like it all hinges on optimizing that plant and those genetics that you have for the outcome. And it's really fun to think about, wow, wait a minute, my outcome is going to be gummies. You're still, especially the Colorado's vertically integrated right. And so you're still focused on those gummies when you put that seed in the ground. And when you flip the light cycle and you feed them their nutrients, it's all about focused, I guess, on those gummies and those manufactured products.
100%.
Very, very cool. I bet a lot of people miss that because, you're focused on that end product.
It's funny. Recently, I've gone into grows and I'm like, what's your goal? It's actually one of my favorite qualifying questions is I'm like, what's your goal? And they're like, 4 pounds of light. And I'm like, what's your goal? And they're like, and I'm like, really, it should be an efficiency of profitability. And it should be a certain captive consumer segment of your market. You should be taking market share at a profitable rate, because there's a lot of people and a lot of brands that I've seen, thousands that have gone like this in the amount of time that Keto Life has been out. And they get a ton of capital. I've seen them, some of them get hundreds of millions of dollars in capital, and they don't know how to manage it, and they don't know where the efficiencies are, and they don't know how to properly manage that goal and that market sector that they're trying to captivate their local and geographic area. And on the back end, it just leads to failure. Right. And I've done it myself, School of hard knocks. You gotta learn by falling on your face every once in a while. And that's how we've learned a lot of things. And that's what we are here to help people not to do at this point. At the end of the day, we want to be able to offer our experiences, our insight, whether it's real and people want to hear it or not, to allow their business to be more successful. And a lot of people that listen are a lot more successful. The ones who usually don't listen aren't around for that long.
Well,
I
I
hate to
mean,
say
you
it
know,
that way.
no, but you know, it stands to reason, you know, if they've invested in you and they end up not taking, you know, your advice, you know, it just seems a little foolish, you know, maybe they're not the best with money. That's okay though. That's okay. It takes all kinds, right?
It does.
And you know, and the business, you know, cannabis industry is booming. It's just booming. Everybody wants in, everybody wants a piece. It's romantic, it's intoxicating, no pun intended. But you know, and that gives rise to a lot of, you know, trends, growing innovations, and especially now that information is being opened up through platforms like Pro Cannabis Media. So I'm curious about what trends you have been seeing, or innovations that you've seen that are really exciting to you.
For sure. Well, first, in the genetic realm, obviously genetics are more exciting than they've ever been, and the crosses and the combos and where genetics are going is just really, really interesting. And I've done a lot of different things on genetics, whether it's creating feminized seed. We, in 2019, created over 100 million seeds in the hemp industry, and we had really good performance and really, really good sex ratios, and a high amount of females and a low amount of males and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, what was beautiful is we were able to complement it. A lot of times where we shine is a lot of our equipment provider counterparts only provide one small section of the pie. When we come to the table and we're able to apply the whole pie and a system that integrates into itself, we see a lot higher levels of success. One of the biggest frustrations, I guess, as a counter of what your question was, is a lot of people just don't know what they're buying. And a lot of people are integrating just things that their buddy told them, and they might not technically work well together. So we really try to maximize, from a goal orientation as a business, what genetics, what products, what cultivation products, and most importantly, what processing products you're going to need to implement into your system to allow you to be successful.
Absolutely. I mean, sounds like, you know, seed to almost shelf, you know, definitely helping to set up these businesses for success, harvest after harvest, is the most important thing. And, you know, what we're seeing a lot of in Texas, you know, we have many folks who are throwing their hats in the game and starting to grow hemp to see what they can do. But we're seeing a lot of so-called consultants coming in and, you know, kind of hawking their wares, for lack of a better term.
Making it till they make it?
Yes, making it till they make it. And it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, and these folks are, of course, always, you know, from out of state. But, you know, my question to you is this. What do you think? Because it is such a, you know, it's regionality is important, you know, when it comes to cannabis cultivation, and certainly hemp cultivation. How important do you think is it in choosing a consultant, having somebody who comes from your home state, somebody who's had great success in your home state, or maybe somebody who's had success elsewhere, but who's worked with people in your state?
First and foremost, I mean, you got to like the person. You got to have that really good gut vibe about them, is how I kind of live my life in general. If my belly's telling me no, then I'm not going to do it. Second is definitely experience. Like, you know, the experience is a double-edged sword though, because like you said, there's a lot of consultants that come around and they've been doing it in Colorado for 10 years and they're in the same boat that I'm preaching, right? And but when you look at these people and you start and dig into their resumes, it's like, well, you were there for 6 months, and you were there for 3 months, and you were there for 1 year, and you were there for 6 months, and you were there. And, you know, a lot of these consultants have that type of track record. The beautiful thing about Key to Life and working with somebody like us is we have a 10-year brand history. You can go back and hear me saying the same stuff 10 years ago on videos and through trade shows and through the network. So obviously, further than experience is credibility, you know, where do they come from? Where is their segment of knowledge located and anchored to? Because some people are really good at cultivation, but they don't know anything about the goal. They don't know anything about the business, the finances, the branding, the distribution, the joint venture partnerships, the sales team, the marketing, all the other things that really go into play outside of the plant. There's a lot of really good consultants that can show you how to grow a good plant. But a lot of times, that's not where the rubber meets the road with farming. This is a big thing with a lot of, I'm sure I'm talking to a lot of Texas farmers out there in general, where you get to the end of the grow and you have a ton of crop and you can't sell it. That's a huge deal right now in cannabis and in hemp. It's obviously created large issues in hemp, and it's taken the industry drastically down in size. So what I like to tell people to do is manage the size and increase of their operation and their scalability in managed bite-sized pieces. Got on a little tangent there, but
No, I mean, it's brilliant advice. You know, people, I think, definitely bite off more than they can chew when they jump into this industry and they decide they're going to go for it and do it. You know, they want to grow fast, and there's this feeling that they are, you know, missing out on market share. You know,
bigger is not technically better,
right?
Bigger
is, yeah. And
I recently actually went to a farm in Oklahoma, back to the Oklahoma thing. I went to a farm in Oklahoma that this guy had 3 acres of canopy, and he was trying to go to 65.
What?
Yeah, and he was like, oh, well, I've got this quote from this consultant and this quote from this consultant. And I was like, those guys were telling you to do that? I was like, my advice is to go to like 6 acres, maybe 9 or 10 if you want to get really crazy with it and triple your size. But sit from 3 to 65, and him and his dad were standing there, and they're really awesome, super respectable, you know, multi-generational agricultural people with thousands of acres of cultivation under their belt. And they were like, you're the first consultant to come in here and tell us that. Everybody else was trying to sell us and give us an invoice on the 65 acres. So that's one of my biggest, you know, woes when you are considering a consultant or a manager or a partner, is if all they're doing is adding up the amount of pounds that they can get and then putting the market price next to it and then a line and this is how much money we're going to make, you probably have the wrong person.
Run. It's never as simple as that. You know, it's never. If it's too good to be true, it usually is, which is why it's funny. It's never as simple as that. But growing is simple, and it should be methodical. You know, if you listen to nature, as I'm learning as the host of this awesome show. Why do you think growers tend to overcomplicate the process?
I think it's because,
or do you think they do?
Instagram, Facebook, hype, noise. Their buddy did it and he got the killer harvest. And it causes people to switch up their game plan when their horse is already in the middle of the stream, and nothing good happens from that.
So don't do that. Don't switch up that game plan. It sounds it sounds like it's you know, just unrealistic. You're doing more of projecting your own ego and your own wants and needs on the plant, as opposed to tending to it and allowing it to be, you know, come into its fullest expression of itself. You know,
genetic expression is everything in this plant.
Yes, it is. Yes, it absolutely is. So before we go, Tate, I want to know if you're growing anything, any cannabis in your garden right now.
Ooh, so you got to check out, first off, Key to Life Supply on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
But also check out my other brand, which is Backyard Farming Supply and Backyard Farming Tips on Instagram and Facebook, and you actually see my vegetable garden and my medicine garden here. I grow my personal little couple plants in the backyard, but actually only about 5% of my garden is cannabis. The rest of it is food. That's really what I think that cannabis has to offer to the world. Is some people don't really care about outdoors or nature or growing their food or some of those things, but they start to care about where their cannabis comes from and what it tastes like. And that is the only gateway drug that cannabis is to Mother Nature and the rest of her drugs, which are food. Because we got to remember, anything that goes into your body besides water that affects how you feel is technically either food or drug. So last year I had over 40 types of pepper. I had over 40 types of tomato. I had over 6 types of eggplant, multiple different types of kale and Brussels sprouts and carrots and cauliflower. And we had over 200 varieties in our garden. Maybe we'll show some pics and or some video of some of our awesome products like Uptake or Boost or Molasses Magic being used in our backyard farm. We have a fully automated 24 raised beds in my backyard farm. And last year I produced over 2,000 pounds of tomato on an 8-foot by 10-foot area. And it was amazing because the best part about it is my kids are there experiencing the whole thing with us. So they're there growing the food with us, doing the work with us. They've been building beds, and I was digging my trench today. My son was swinging the pickaxe with me. So I believe that farming and agriculture and horticulture, whether it's cannabis, peppers and tomatoes, or food in general, is a great family activity that can allow you, your family, the planet, and the plants to reconnect on a whole nother level and to really kind of reestablish what our priorities in life should be. Because at the end of the day, clean food and clean water should be our #1 priority. And I feel that it's going missing in society these days. A lot of times food is just, it's a small thing. I feel hungry, shove the food into the hole. Now I'm done. I'm full. Next. And really, if you look at other societies and, you know, other ways of life, food is the tradition. Food is the tradition. Food is the religion. Food is what connects them, and food and medicine are one and the same. Mm-hmm. If your food isn't your medicine and you're relying on medicine to be your medicine, then maybe if you should check out your health and your diet for any of your health issues, right? So that's really what we're trying to encourage people, and the fruits of that are hard work, ethics, morals, understanding of the future impacts that you have on your garden, which helps you to understand the future impacts that you have on your planet. Yes. And I believe that it is a huge thing that connecting with that in society will allow all of us to synergize with the planet. And if there hasn't been a more important time to look at food and medicine, cultivation in our own backyard with our family, and instilling those ethics, morals, and work ethic, I think that this is the best time for that.
Amen. I don't think we could have ended this segment any better. Tate Dooley, thank you so much for joining us on Calling All Growers. Will you come back?
100%. I had a blast.
Awesome. Maybe
perfect. You guys can come to the backyard farm and we'll do a little tour.
Yes. Oh my God. I would love that. I mean, I'm only in Texas. I'm your neighbor to the south.
There it is.
So that'd be an easy trip. So remind me, where can everyone find you?
Well, check out our website at key2lifesupply.com. You can also check us out Facebook and Instagram at Key2Life You can also check out our other brands, which are backyardfarmingsupply.com and Backyard Farming Tips on Facebook and Instagram?
I'm definitely going to tap into that because I have a backyard garden, and you know, I had 3 different types of tomato plants last year. Not to brag, it's not over 200 or however many you had, but you know, it's a start, and I'm really, really grateful for the work that you're doing to educate, you know, educate the country, educate the nation, teach us how to grow, teach us how to nourish ourselves. It's not just about cannabis, it's about nourishing ourselves and healing ourselves through what we put in our bodies. So I want to thank our guest, Tate Dooley from Key to Life Supply, bringing his knowledge and his passion for regenerative farming to teach and inspire growers, because that's really what it's all about on this show, on Calling All Growers. It's about connecting growers and opening up channels to information so that we can help each other and we can only grow stronger as a grow community. Calling All Growers is produced by Pro Cannabis Media and Grow House Media with generous support from our sponsors. And I'll see you in 2 weeks on May 25th for another live show, or for another show.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Hi, my name's Tai Chang. I'm the president and founder of Aloha Green Apothecary in Hawaii. We're a vertically integrated medical cannabis company with 3 dispensaries, 1 extraction lab, and 1 cultivation center near the North Shore of Oahu. We have over 150 employees now, and we've been working with Adaptive HR to meet our human resource needs. We're super excited to work with them as we expand, and we've grown at least 2-3 times over the last 2 years. So we look forward to a good relationship with Adaptive, and come visit us in Hawaii anytime. Aloha.
Calling All Growers with Liz Grow is supported by the Grow Kit from stylelighting.shop, Adaptive HR, built for your cannabis business, Revolutionary Clinics, where the patient comes first, by Accounting Buds, your accountant in cannabis, and by Salient Video Surveillance Systems for today and tomorrow's security.